Lytudiep greets you, dear friends. Dear friends, two fates, two different distances, but they still came together. So how did they come together? Today let's find out and pray for them. On a dusty red road winding along the foot of quiet hills, where only the wind and the faint scent of dried firewood drifted through the air, a slender young woman walked barefoot, carrying a small child and selling whatever she could gather, a bundle of wood, a handful of vegetables, anything that could help her survive another day. Her name was Diep. She had gentle eyes, but behind that softness lay years of silent wounds, wounds from being rejected, betrayed, blamed, and cast aside by the very people who were once supposed to protect her. She had once belonged to a home, once been a wife, but because she could not bear children, her mother-in-law despised her, her husband turned cold, and one day, they threw her out, accusing her of stealing an important land deed she never touched. The small shelter she built on the forest edge was torn down. From that moment on, she carried her child and wandered, picking up whatever labor she could find. She became invisible to the world, until the day a man noticed her. Not just any man. Jame, a young CEO who had just returned from overseas to take over his family's wood processing enterprise, stepped out of a polished car into the same dusty world Diep walked through every day. Despite his wealth and the weight of a business resting on his shoulders, he carried a calm presence and a quiet kindness rarely found in those who lived a life far above hardship. The first time he saw Diep, she offered him a small bundle of firewood for a meager 50 Vietnamese dongs. He didn't bargain, he didn't hesitate, he placed the money in her hand, more than the price, because he didn't have smaller bills. To Diep, it was just another moment of passing help. To Jame, something in her eyes, grateful yet trembling, disturbed the stillness of his heart. They met again. And this time, it wasn't coincidence. At a crowded market, Diep was trying to find work but was mocked for her worn-out clothes and lack of documents. Someone's careless insult made her flee in shame, and in her hurry, she lost one of her sandals. Jame had been nearby, and for reasons even he couldn't explain, he ran after her, just to return that fallen sandal. A wealthy CEO chasing a poor woman with a sandal in his hand, this strange, tender image marked the first real crack in the wall Diep had built around her heart. As days passed, Jame learned about her story, her innocence in the accusation that destroyed her life. He quietly investigated, and one afternoon, when he finally stood before her, he spoke the words she had longed to hear but never thought she would. "I found the real culprit. You are innocent." Her eyes filled, not with relief, but with the overwhelming shock of being believed for the first time. Someone finally stood on her side. Someone finally said, "You matter." Knowing Diep had no home left, Jame brought her to his family's old farm, an abandoned place. But safe and peaceful enough for her to rest, he spent an entire day sweeping the floors, fixing the roof, preparing a bed, bringing food, and making sure everything felt warm. A high-level CEO, a man used to giving orders, now stood in a small kitchen cooking rice and eggs for a woman life had nearly broken. When Diep sat at the wooden table and saw the simple meal he had cooked, she broke down in tears. Not because she was hungry, but because it had been far too long since anyone treated her with kindness. Jame gently placed the chopsticks in her hand and said softly, "From now on, I won't let anyone hurt you again." It was a promise she didn't dare believe in, yet her heart trembled because it had been starving for such warmth. Still, fear lingered. She wondered if he had hidden intentions, if kindness like his ever came without a price. But she didn't know that outside the small house, Jame was quietly walking to a neighbor's home to borrow a lamp so her night wouldn't be swallowed by darkness. She didn't know he worried she might feel cold, unsafe, or lonely. Much less did she know that the reason he stayed nearby wasn't obligation, but a growing desire to protect her. He gave her new clothes, told her to bathe safely at the stream, and waited at a respectful distance. He ate with her, listened to her stories, and shared pieces of his own, about the future plans for expanding the wood business. About the hills of acacia trees that took years to mature. About goals for thousands of tons of production ahead. Diep listened quietly. But within that silence, something gentle was waking. She was beginning, slowly, cautiously, to step into his world. A world where people didn't shout at her. A world where she wasn't judged for being poor. A world where she could sleep without fear. A world where someone ran after her not to blame her, but to return her sandal. She entered Jame's world not through beauty, not through luck, not through effort, but through the honesty of her pain. A pain so real that it softened the heart of a man who had everything except someone who needed him. And Jame, once a powerful figure at the center of a business empire, now found himself carrying groceries for her, learning how to make simple meals, checking that her roof didn't leak, and worrying whether she had enough blankets for the night. Two people from opposite worlds, one battered by life, the other cushioned by success, found each other in the quietest, most unexpected way. That night, as Diep stood under the dim light of the borrowed lamp, she whispered to herself, "Is he truly helping me, or is there something more?" She couldn't see outside the window, where Jame stood still, looking at the glowing light inside her small house, thinking, from today on, she will not face this world alone. And so their story began. Gentle, fragile, filled with hope. The beginning of a bond stitched together by kindness, pain, and the quiet pull of destiny.